Hello and welcome to the Port St. Lucie Police Department's first quarter of 2021 award ceremony. COVID-19's really changed a lot of facets in our life. And look, we're standing here right now. I'm recording an opening to an award ceremony. But the one thing it hasn't changed is the commitment of the men and women of the Port St. Lucie Police Department to their duties. We have had some spectacular police work done over the past year. And this award ceremony is going to highlight that. I hope you enjoy seeing their accomplishments as much as I enjoyed reading about them. And hopefully our next award ceremony will be live and in person. Thank you.
We'll begin with the service citations. For 5 years of service, Officer Adam Doty, Officer Corey Kresick, Officer Benjamin Thayer, and Officer Joseph Trevisol. For 15 years of service, Master Officer Michael Connor, Cheryl Davis, Crime Analyst 3, Officer David Goldstein, Detective Sergeant Aaron Martin, Detective Kristen Meyer, Officer Albert Soul, and Detective Adrian Zamoyski. For 20 years of service, Detective Richard Giacone and Brian Lloyd, AC Administrator. For 25 years of service, Sergeant Dominic Masidi. And for 30 years of service, Lieutenant Kevin Carmichael. For the Career Ladder Program, Officer Michael Connor is being recognized as Master Officer. The following personnel received an Educational Achievement Award. Detective Dominic Savichev received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice. Animal Control Administrator Brian Lloyd received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration. The following personnel received a unit citation. For the Storage Unit Burglary, Officer Robert Burdick, Officer Ryan Cook, Officer Dominic Durbin, Detective Timothy Herring, Officer Brittany Holly, Detective Sandra Insuasti, CSI Janelle Ramirez, CSI Ashley Perkins, and CSI Peter Negron. Congratulations, you have been awarded a unit citation based on a nomination by Detective Sergeant Kaminsky for your tremendous team effort in the December 12, 2020 burglary of 43 storage units at the St. Lucie Public Storage Facility. Officers responded to the storage facility where 43 individual storage lockers were burglarized. Personal property was strewn about the aisles, and the suspects had fled the scene prior to our arrival. Detectives and crime scene investigators also responded, and everyone involved worked throughout the night and into the following day organizing the crime scene, processing evidence, and attempting to identify the victims. Once the scene was cleared, detectives began a tedious investigation that spanned several months and encompassed nearly the entire state of Florida. In the ensuing weeks, a similar crime occurred in Jupiter, which yielded the arrest of a juvenile runaway that was ultimately identified as the getaway driver for burglaries committed that day. Upon interviewing this suspect, several leads were developed. After weeks of investigations and travels throughout the state of Florida, detectives positively identified 3 male suspects involved in our burglaries. Coordinating with various other agencies across the state, they linked these subjects to multiple additional storage unit burglaries in which several firearms and ammunition were stolen. Using this newfound information, detectives met with the statewide prosecutors and coordinated the consolidation of cases from several jurisdictions into one single case with the goal of RICO criminal organization charges. In February 2021, the investigation was met with its culmination as warrants were issued for all 3 suspects. The collective teamwork of everyone involved, from the meticulous initial documentation to the labor-intensive scene processing and the relentless follow-up, resulted in the clearance of 43 active burglary cases. The tremendous amount of work and time invested in this investigation is most worthy of recognition with this unit citation. Thank you for using your remarkable talents and skills to power the department's mutual efforts. For the vehicle burglary on Avila Street, Officer Robert Burdick, Officer Samantha DiPiero, and Officer Jelaine Pruitt. Congratulations, you have been awarded a unit citation based on a nomination by Sergeant Brian Kenny. On December 17, 2020, Officer DiPiero was dispatched to a burglary pass to a motor vehicle on Southwest Avila Street. Officer DiPiero met with the victims who had reviewed their exterior video surveillance from the overnight hours and observed an unknown male enter their unlocked vehicle in their driveway. Using the suspect's direction of travel, when he exited the victim's vehicle, Officers DiPiero began her neighborhood canvass. After stopping out at a few residences, one resident recognized the suspect as a local area resident. Officers DiPiero, Burdick, and Pruitt contacted the home indicated by the neighbor and identified the suspect, who was still wearing the same clothing as was seen in the victim's video surveillance. Post-Miranda, the officers did obtain a confession from the suspect for the vehicle burglary. He was subsequently arrested without incident. Based on your thorough neighborhood canvass and interview skills, your efforts led to an arrest. Your hard work and dedication are an example to everyone on our team. Thank you for doing your best every day. For crime pattern investigations, Detective Abel Alves, Detective Christopher Capozzi, Detective Antroyana Holliday, and Detective Nathaniel Penny. Congratulations, you have been awarded a unit citation based on a nomination by me. During this rating period, East Property Detectives have been mindful of our organizational goals and the responsibilities that come along with being a detective. When investigating an assigned crime pattern or one from their caseload, their teamwork approach has fostered a productive work environment, one whereby information is shared and cases are resolved promptly. They embrace CORE, the stratified model, and regularly keep me apprised of any action items relating to their assigned crime patterns. This has enabled me to provide my commander with an up-to-date synopsis of any action items he would need to report on during his weekly CORE meetings. Their cohesion demonstrated an ability to work together to achieve our agency's shared goal of crime reduction and accountability. Congratulations on a job well done. For a vehicle burglary at Golden Corral, Officer Clayton Baldwin, Officer Robert Burdick, Officer Ryan Cook, Officer Paul Cruz, Officer Samantha DiPiero, Officer Carl Durbin, Officer David Goldstein. Congratulations, you have been awarded a unit citation based on a nomination by Sergeant Brian Kinney. On Friday, March 5th, 2021, during the day shift hours, Officer DiPiero was flagged down at a restaurant in St. Lucie West regarding a suspicious male possibly trying to break into vehicles. She immediately broadcast the suspect's description, and Sergeant Kenny noted he passed the male fitting that description a few minutes earlier. Several units converged on the suspect's last known direction of travel and eventually located him. The suspect ultimately confessed to attempting to enter the vehicle and also admitted to breaking into another car in the hospital parking lot over in St. Lucie West. He stated that he had smashed out the driver's side window with a window punch he still had in his possession. The suspect said the vehicle belonged to a friend of his who was admitted into the hospital and that he believed had a firearm in the car that he could steal and sell for money to support his drug habit. Hospital surveillance video would confirm this account. From processing the vehicle to interviewing the suspect and conducting a show-up, everyone involved contributed to this investigation. This case did gain media attention and brought positive praise to the Port St. Lucie Police Department. The collaborative efforts on this case brought swift closure to 2 felony crimes. Every idea shared and every opportunity seized by you helped us achieve the heights. Kudos to your efforts. The following personnel received a commendation citation. Animal Control received the 2020 Outstanding Florida Agency Award. They include AC Administrator Brian Lloyd, Animal Control Supervisor Lisa Brown, Animal Control Supervisor Marissa Munoz, Animal Control Officer Caleb Alvarez, Animal Control Officer Tandy DeMag, Animal Control Officer Joshua Heflin, Animal Control Officer David Lichtenfields, Animal Control Officer Alicia Millward, Animal Control Officer Kevin Paredes, Animal Control Officer Cassidy Toten, Animal Control Officer Juan Verdial, David Wright, Kennel Technician, and Michelle Neild, Administrative Assistant. Congratulations, you are the recipient of the commendation citation, which Animal Control Administrator Brian Lloyd submitted on the following criteria. All members of the Animal Control Division were nominated for their achievement in winning the 2020 Outstanding Agency of the Year Award from the Florida Animal Control Association. FACA, FACA, is a state-recognized nonprofit organization that provides training, state certification, and disaster support to animal control agencies in Florida. Multiple agencies across the state applied for the award, and a panel of 20 member agencies selected our division as the winner. Highlights of the achievement that were noted follow. Expanded public outreach during COVID pandemic through the use of social media. Strengthened our relationship with the Humane Society of St. Lucie County through the Fresh Start Initiative. Developed additional community partnerships with local veterinarian government agencies and nonprofit organizations. Refined the Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Return program, which resulted in the reduction of cat impounds by nearly 90%. Increased return to owner percentage from 53% to over 70%, thus resulting the fewer animals being taken to the Humane Society. Through the TNVR and RTO programs, the new Humane Society of St. Lucie County has now become a no-kill shelter in its first year of existence. 2020 brought many challenges to our organization and tested animal control's ability to adapt and overcome from these obstacles. It is humbling that the division was able to maintain its level of service and increase them during the year. The animal control members forged ahead and created new relationships, expanded their programs, added new staff members, strengthened policies, upgraded our facility, started writing new ordinances, and reached new heights in our RTO program. These outstanding accomplishments brought acclaim to the Port St. Lucie Police Department through teamwork, hard work, and determination. Great job. For his efforts during a structure fire, Officer Michael Scaringe. Congratulations, you are the recipient of a commendation citation which Officer Carl Durbin submitted on the following criteria. On April 3rd, 2021, you were dispatched to a structure fire that was actively blazing within the garage of a home. Communications advised you that several juveniles were inside the garage also trying to extinguish the fire. You arrived first on scene before the fire department. You could have staged and waited for rescue to come, but you did not. Instead, seeing the severity of the situation, you grabbed your department-issued fire extinguisher and went inside the garage to fight the fire. You placed yourself between the fire and the juveniles, trying to use a home hose to put it out. After several passes, you completely extinguished the flames and all other hazards. When the fire department arrived, they commended your actions and attributed them to potentially saving the home. Without your quick work and tenacity to help people in need, this could have resulted in a significant house fire and possibly spread to other homes in the neighborhood. Thank you for your prompt response and dedication to our citizens. Great job. The following personnel received a life-saving citation. For the accidental shooting at the gun range, Officer Ryan Cook and Officer Tricia Gittins Ward. Congratulations. Sergeant Brian Kenny has nominated you to be the recipient of the Life-Saving Citation Award. On December 30th, 2020, Officer Tricia Gittins Ward was off duty at the St. Lucie Shooting Center when suddenly there was a disturbance in progress where one male had suffered an accidental gunshot wound to his leg. Officer Gittins Ward initiated life-saving measures that needed to be taken due to the location and severity of the injury. She quickly located a tourniquet and applied it to the man's leg. While this was taking place, Officer Cook was dispatched to the St. Lucie Shooting Center for an accidental gunshot wound. When he arrived, he observed the range employee lying supine with a gunshot wound to his left leg. Although the victim was alert and speaking, his skin color was gray and a large amount of blood had pooled around his body. He noted off-duty Officer Gittins Ward had applied a tourniquet. Officer Cook cuffed the victim's pants to expose the wound and assessed him for any additional injuries. While doing so, he observed an arterial bleed coming from the existing gunshot wound and stopped the bleeding. St. Lucie County Rescue arrived shortly thereafter and took over tending to the victim. Whereas Officer Cook began his investigation, it revealed the incident was accidental. The victim was transported to Longwood Hospital, and after treatment, he was in stable condition. Without a doubt, the swift actions taken by both officers saved the victim's life. Outstanding job. For a rollover crash, Officer Adam Doty, Officer Dominic Durbin, and Officer Kevin Fry. Congratulations. Sergeant David Butterworth has nominated you to be the recipient of the Life-Saving Citation Award. On March 21st, 2021, officers were dispatched to a rollover crash near Southwest Galliano Road and Southwest Kadima Street, where the vehicle came to rest upside down in a retention pond. The driver called 911 and reported she was still in the car with water rushing inside. Officers Doty, Durbin, and Fry first arrived on scene, stripped off their gear, and jumped into the water to rescue her from the vehicle. The officers gave multiple announcements to the driver, who was initially not responding to them. Officer Doty opened the driver's side door and called to her again. The driver responded and crawled from the rear seat to the open door. She could not advise of any injuries, so Officer Doty picked her up and carried her from the vehicle to dry land as rescue arrived on scene. Officers Durbin and Fry then checked the car for any remaining passengers and found the vehicle to be empty. The driver was treated by rescue and released on scene. A few days later, when discussing this event with local news media outlets, Officer Doty, Durbin, and Fry again dealt with a medical emergency in the police department's lobby. A person was experiencing a seizure and fell to the ground. The officers immediately caught him and safely escorted him to the floor until rescue arrived. Officers acted quickly and heroically by jumping into the water without regard for their safety to rescue the driver from the overturned vehicle. If not for the quick actions of these officers, it is unknown what may have happened to the accident victim. Thank you for your prompt response, which helped save a life. Being recognized as Volunteer of the Quarter is John Thules. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Thomas Andrew, you have been selected as the Volunteer of the First Quarter for 2021. John Thules has been a volunteer since August 2013. John volunteered with lobby reception for many years, handling his own scheduled time, as well as covering for volunteers who could not make their scheduled time. John is always there to assist when there is a department need. Most recently, John has volunteered in the records room. He works with record room staff verifying reports. When volunteer office work was allowed after the COVID suspension of volunteer work, John was one of the first to return. He works well with department staff and is thorough in all his duties. We are lucky to have him as a member of the volunteer program. Congratulations. Being recognized as Civilian of the Quarter is Elaine Cook, Records Specialist. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Linda Cole, Record Supervisor, you have been selected as the Civilian of the First Quarter for 2021. You have been an example to the agency with how you handle our customers and your coworkers. You have had several accolades for your customer service in the form of emails and phone calls to me from customers you have assisted. Along with assisting with other agency tasks in the office, you have been filling in as an acting court liaison for several months. You are doing a great job in that position by keeping up with subpoenas, the ever-changing vacation schedules of officers, processing reports for the state attorney's office, and many other tasks. You take pride in this position and you take it very seriously. The Port St. Lucie Police Department is very lucky to have you as part of our team. Congratulations on a job well done. Being recognized as Detective of the Quarter is Detective Timothy Herring. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Detective Sergeant Kevin Kaminsky, you have been selected as Detective of the First Quarter for 2021. During this time frame, you have demonstrated an unparalleled passion for your work and produced several outstanding case resolutions, yielding 25 cases cleared by arrest, including 2 significant investigations which follow. In mid-December 2020, you assisted Primary Case Agent Detective Insuasti on a call-out for 43 storage units that were broken into at St. Lucie Public Storage. You worked side by side with her as you both diligently investigated the case. Throughout the ensuing months, you both traveled across the state of Florida, conducting interviews, searching pawn shops, and coordinating with detectives from other jurisdictions. As a result of the investigation, 3 subjects from Broward County were positively identified for the offenses. You took the investigation a step further and sought assistance from the statewide prosecutor's office to coordinate joint prosecution of the subjects for their crime spree that spanned across the entire state of Florida. In February 2021, the statewide prosecutor's office officially adopted the case, and warrants were issued to arrest the 3 suspects. Your involvement didn't end there. Understanding the copious amount of paperwork involved in 43 individual cases, you assumed half of the caseload to assist Detective Insuasti and worked on and off duty to complete the numerous detailed reports and case files associated with the investigation. Since the case's resolution, you have been the go-to liaison for the prosecutor's office in Palm Beach, ensuring the subjects are held accountable for their actions. A second example began in January 2021, as our city began experiencing a rash of burglaries to homes under construction. You went to work trying to identify a common denominator for the multitude of target locations. Over the next several weeks, you met with various builders to identify a suspect and assist in implementing target hardening strategies. As a result, several builders provided you lists of potential target addresses and access to their site for surveillance purposes. To aid this investigation and further criminal investigation division cases, you put together a proposal that was ultimately approved, which provided for multiple portable surveillance cameras that have since been deployed at these target locations. As you continue to demonstrate proactive investigative techniques, you convinced one prominent builder to refrain from delivering high-dollar appliances until the home closed and was ready to be occupied by its new owners, thus resulting in a complete drop-off of burglaries to that particular builder. While actively monitoring the pattern, you observed an in-progress call for service describing an abandoned vehicle stuck behind a house under construction. You responded to the scene and determined the truck belonged to a person of interest identified as a potential suspect in several of the burglaries. You facilitated the processing of multiple crime scenes in the vicinity, including the vehicle itself, and discovered 3 additional burglaries had occurred. You secured warrants for the arrest of the suspect for 4 separate construction site burglaries. You worked with the state attorney's office to have the initial charges amended and arrested the suspect again for enhanced charges while simultaneously verifying there was no additional stolen property at his residence. These 2 investigations illustrate only a small sample of the meticulous and diligent work demonstrated by you on a daily basis. Your investigative skills dictate your passion for the job and your drive to get criminals off the street. You routinely can be found off-duty, continuing investigations, conducting research, and finalizing reports. You are the first person to offer help to your fellow detectives and are always eager to take on new challenges. You set a high bar with this one. Congratulations. Being recognized as Officer of the Quarter is Officer Adam Doty. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Sergeant Butterworth, you have been selected for Officer of the First Quarter for 2021. Throughout the first quarter, your job performance was extraordinary, as you maintained a welcoming, friendly, and jovial demeanor with your fellow officers and displayed a fair and professional presence when handling calls for service and speaking with citizens. In addition to your road patrol duties, you are a crime scene investigator and routinely mentor trainees when their FTOs are unavailable. You frequently conduct traffic enforcement, spending time in assigned pattern locations, and make consensual contact with suspicious persons you encounter. 2 examples of your work follow. You responded to a call for service regarding a missing person investigation. Although in communication with her husband over the course of the day, the circumstances of his actual location raised suspicions. As such, you entered him into the system as a missing person. Approximately 45 minutes after her husband was entered as missing, she was contacted by Miami police officers advising her that her husband was involved in a crash and appeared to have cognitive issues. The wife requested her husband be taken to the hospital, where it was discovered he had an undiagnosed brain tumor that caused a significant brain bleed to his right frontal lobe. He was quickly moved to the intensive care unit and underwent surgery to remove the tumor, which she said saved his life. She wrote a letter on February 14th expressing her sincere gratitude for your investigation and decision to enter him into the system as a missing person. She stated, and I quote, "I feel with great certainty that Officer Doty was part of a miracle with many moving parts that saved my husband's life. Words cannot express the gratitude that I feel," end quote. On January 3rd, officers responded to a gas station location on Port St. Lucie Boulevard due to an armed robbery. Upon reviewing the surveillance video, the suspect was observed loitering outside the gas station and resting his body upon the metal handrail south of the door, which you processed for prints. The next day, you observed a red bicycle outside the gas station, which looked like the bike that was ridden by the robbery suspect the night prior. When the male subject left the store, you noted the bicycle had no lights while riding at night and stopped it. The suspect was found to have a semi-automatic handgun and over $400 in cash on his person. The man is a convicted felon, currently on probation, and was subsequently arrested. It was later discovered that the bike and firearm were stolen from within the Sampson Lane crime pattern. Further investigation revealed the 2 suspects were both responsible for multiple burglaries around Southwest Sampson Lane. You exemplify the qualities needed for a solid, well-rounded police officer. It is due to your exceptional work performance, as illustrated in these few examples, that you are deserving to be honored as the Port St. Lucie Police Department Officer of the First Quarter. Congratulations on a job well done. This concludes the First Quarter Award Ceremony of 2021. Thanks for watching.